Thank you for staying with us. Now let's get this show started. During the week, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, summoned chief judges of 6 states over a recent wave of conflicting orders issued from their courts. This has sparked off conversations about the judiciary and political influences. Well, we have lawyers, of course. It's raining lawyers this morning. Hannibal Waifu, President, African Bar Association, joins us from Benin. Good morning. Mr. Waifu, good morning.
I'm actually in Lagos. I'm not from Benin. I'm in Lagos.
Oh, you're in Lagos? Okay.
Good to know.
Good of you to join us. And also joining us from Lagos via Zoom, we have Godi Uwazurike, a legal practitioner. Good morning, Chief Uwazurike. Are you there?
We'll hear his voice soon.
Okay. All right then. Let me start with this very important question as far as I'm concerned. All this concerns ex parte motions. Now, we are lay people. Can you start by explaining to us exactly what an ex parte motion is? Mr. Waifu.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much.
Yes.
God Wadrike, good morning.
Oh.
Good morning to Channels Television. I suppose that talking to the public will just talk in layman terms. Well, an ex parte application is one which is obtained from a court of law without the other party being present in court. It's usually done in an emergency where an issue will be destroyed if the court is not, or where a rest or a situation will become rudderless or rather become impossible if the court does not make that quick order for the rest to be preserved. So that is especially what an ex parte order is. But most of the time, when the court gives an ex parte order, it also gives a day where the parties are to return to court, directing the party who has gotten the ex parte order to serve the other party on notice, put him on notice that is in court. And then there's a return date for the parties to return back to court to do the substantive matter. In most of the cases, when the parties are fully in court, the ex parte order may be discharged by the judge or the court, depending on the situation. And the motion of notice is now heard, and the judge will decide whether to grant an interim injunction pending the termination of the case. That's essentially what an ex parte order is.
Very much, Mr. Waifu. We've since been joined by another legal practitioner, Mr. Olashukwu Ojo. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Nice
Let me just throw this question to you since I have you, a bird in hand. Now, Mr. Waifu has said that these motions are asked for because if a decision is not taken on the matter at hand, something big may happen as a result of the court not taking action. But in some of these cases, it didn't seem like anything would happen. Like in the case of Mr. Secondus and his office, for instance. I mean, it wasn't going to, Nigeria wasn't going to go to pieces if that motion wasn't taken.
Yes. Well, it is lawful for anybody to approach the court ex parte. Ex parte means hear just one side. Yes. You don't have to hear the other side. In the interim, we call it interim order, that is, in the present situation, pending the time the other party will come to court. Yes. Let so happen. Okay. You can say, stop what you are doing. I give the other party, like in one of the cases, the judge actually said that he abridged the time for the other party to come to court to 5 days, and said within 5 days he wanted the other party to come. and show reason why that order should not be made. So ex parte is part of our law. There's nothing wrong in it. And it has certain requirements.
It's at the discretion of the judge, right?
At the discretion of the judge, according to law.
Okay.
According to law, there must be urgency. And then the damage to be done must be irreversible. Must be something that cannot be assuaged by damages. That is maybe by award of compensation.
So in this case,
yes.
In this case of the People's Democratic Party,
Yes.
the chairman
Yes.
of the party,
Yes.
would you say that is, is very expedient?
It depends on the wording of the application brought to the court. We have not seen the application brought to the court. Don't forget, the judge don't just issue ex parte orders. Some people ignite it. They must present documents, evidence, everything. Proof must be there that there is urgency. So when the court looks at it, at times some courts take their time to even adjourn. I mean, they may say, give me 1 hour or 2 hours to look through this thing very well. And when they look at it, they come out and give their orders. And when they give their order, that judge is the only judge of that situation, according to law. And there's nothing anybody can do about that. But you see, I'm not saying it is a perfect situation. Nothing is perfect. These are human beings. Judges are human beings. The lawyers are human beings. The applicants, the parties to the case, they are also human beings. The political party themselves, they are also manned by human beings. That means politics is at the root of everything. All this thing we are talking about. The thing is now bringing the court into the political turf. That is what we are not happy with. But then the law permits political parties, if they are unable to resolve their differences in-house, to approach the court. It is better than carrying guns and pursuing themselves all over the time. You understand? And I think it's one of the defects in our system, in our political system. The absence of a dispute resolution mechanism inbuilt into the party system. It exposes the courts even to manipulation. You understand? And to corruption.
Interesting.
And I know the courts have warned that they have even appealed to politicians to please spare the courts of their disputes. And the courts have also been appealing to judges to please exercise their discretion really. They should be very, very careful in doing that. And a situation where something is happening in Anambra State, and somebody runs to a high court in Abuja and obtains a court order, just because the law says, yes, it is where the defendant is, and INEC is in Abuja. So, you know?
In this case, case that we're citing now, that's the PDP, the Secondus case, would you say the judges have, used the discretion in a way that is seen to be fine? So a court in Rivers says he's sacked. Another one in Kebbi says he's reinstated. Another one in Cross River says he shouldn't be there.
Yes.
What kind of confusion is that?
You see, like I say, it depends on what will be placed before the courts. Mind you, ex parte orders has a lifespan of 7 days. The moment it is issued, they're supposed to put the other party on notice, and the court can say, instead of 7 days, this order will last for 3 days. Unless you show me proof that you have served the other party within 3 days, they adjourn the matter for the 3rd day. Now, if in the application before the court, the applicant did not inform the court that there is already an order of another court that has been made, the court will only deal with what is present, even if the judge himself knows. He must restrict himself to the application before him. Now, if the court now finds out later that the party knew that an order has been made, but concealed that fact in his own application, the court can set aside that order on that ground only, on the ground of concealment of facts.
Lawyers.
Yes.
Okay,
Lawyers.
Mr.
Chief Uwazirike, can one therefore assume that ex parte motions only refer to political matters?
Ex parte motion and ex parte order, it can be granted on any issues whatsoever. But then, what is scandalous is the way it is being misused. Political cases, AMCOM cases, EFCC cases, they are the very dangerous areas where ex parte order is misused because you're only hearing one side. Right now, we're in this political arena of the two parties. In fact, three, APC, ABGA, PDP, jostling from one court to the other, doing what is called forum shopping. Any judge who is what is his name, judge, will never grant an ex parte order now. The reason is very simple. The issues have been agitating for some time. We didn't go to court when you had a lot of time. You only went to court on the eve of the case. And then suddenly you tell the judge, if you don't do this, this will happen. And what material did you place before him? Just an affidavit and a lot of assertions. And I remember a particular case almost 40 years ago. To get an injunction, there must be something you give, which is called an undertaking. And when you have that undertaking, where it was wrongly given, then you have to pay heavily. But where there is no undertaking, no judge should ever give it. That was statement of Justice Nemeka almost 40 years ago. In today's world, we have a judge sitting in Benin Kudu. We have another judge sitting in Okwa. We have another one sitting in KP. Another one in Cross River. All of them dishing out ex parte. Another one in Rivers. That is wrong. Anambra's own case is scandalous. Let me just put it bluntly. Ex parte order is not easily given. It must be in an extreme case. In other words, the helplessness of it must be obvious. So that if you say this man is no longer a party man, when did you realize he's no longer a party man? In 2003, I think 2002, when Obasanjo was still president, a judge, Abuja High Court judge, FCT High Court judge, was dismissed. Why? Because the then party known as NPP, that later became NPP.
Chief Wazirike, I think the network has taken over.
NJC simply came in and then sacked the judge. So today's scandal, today's forum shopping, if it is not stopped with firm hands, it will go up. Let me just give you one small example. AMCON.
Oh dear.
Okay, the network is really in the way. Let me quickly go to Mr. Waifo. Mr. Waifo, so Chief Wazirike just said that these kind of situations should be stopped. And we saw that the CJN came in during the week and invited the judges of Rivers, Kebbi, Cross River, Anambra, Jigawa, and Imo states. Would you say that is the right way to go?
Well, thank you. I also want to thank you, Wazirike, for the lawyers.
Presented out to them, there are problems.
The very last exposure he brought into the issue. Oh yes, it's in our law books, like Mr. Ojo said. Oh yes, too, it's been abused. Oh yes, that's the reason why the judiciary is panicking. The CJN is worried, not for the first time, not for the second time, not only the first CJN, not only the second CJN, but this thing has gone on. What do we do? Simply because it's in the statute book, we should continue to wallow in this type of behavior? I don't think so. I think the judiciary is about to destroy itself. And so the best thing to do is what the CJN has done. But I think ultimately, we need judicial reform. There must be law reform. in this area of law. Why should you grant, and I'm not going to involve myself in whether the exparty injunction granted in Rivers Court or in Anambra Court or in Benin Kudu Court, whatever, is right or wrong. But we can now see that these orders are all conflicting one another. And that's what Chief Wazirike is saying is scandalous to the entire judiciary and to the entire legal profession. So are we going to continue to encourage it and leave it there? My answer is no. We must sit down, look for law reform, find a way to tie the hands of judges when granting this thing. We must sit when granting an exparty order. We must agree, the reform must agree that this is the only type of situation in which you can grant an order. Like Chief rightly said, it must be in a case of total helplessness. And in most of the cases, you must, like in the past, like it was said, what Justice Emeka Agu said in one of the judgments, you must give very heavy undertaking that if this is wrongly granted or that you have sworn falsely, so the affidavits accompanying the application, then you are going to pay for it. In most of the cases, to my mind, and with all due respect, I think the time has come for us to even include imprisonment, because what is happening now can destroy this country. It threw the country into unavoidable crisis during in 1993, during the infamous ABN activities. We are all aware of all this. We are dancing towards the same angle again. So it's not about PDP or about APC or about one judge or the other. The issue is that these orders are conflicting, they are wrong, and they are scandalous. And the CJN is right. And that's the reason why we have been saying, listen to what the CJN has been saying. The CJN is a gentleman. Look at his judgment. We need to continue to do substantive justice in most of the cases before us. Most of these exparty injunctions, when they are gotten, they are used and they last forever. It becomes the judgment. Nothing else is done again. From one court to another, the whole issue at stake, whether they are even justiciable or not, are all mired in controversy. So there's a very big problem. And I don't agree that because it is in our statute book and because a judge has a discretion to grant it, it should remain there irrespective of the scandal it is creating. It's time for judicial reform or law reform. Thank you.
Mr. Ojo, there's the NJC and then there's the CJN. The case that Mr. Wazirike gave us earlier in 2003, it was the NJC that disciplined the judge. So what has happened to the NJC now that all this is going on, but we have not heard their voice?
Well, NJC will only act if there is a petition before it.
Oh.
So
it's
it
like
is
EFCC all over again.
Yes,
There's no petition, all is cool.
Yes, it is up to the aggrieved party
to complain.
To immediately complain
to the NJC.
With facts to the NJC.
Okay.
And I agree with my colleague that exparty has been abused serially too. And it is still being abused. And some of the abuse even has statutory protection. For instance, the EFCC, behind you, they will go to court, obtain the exparty order to detain you for a long period. And you are not aware. You now go to court to challenge your detention, they will now bring the exparty order, signed by one magistrate somewhere. It happened in cases I was involved in. I was mad. That under what system is this allowed? If you have to detain somebody administratively, should not be more than 48 hours, should be subject to the provisions of the Constitution. But magistrates believe they can do it. So nobody is even there, maybe in his office or in his car or anywhere. It has become administrative matter, a matter of liberty. Exparty has saved lives before. It has been used to save lives. It has also been used to destroy lives, to destroy businesses, even to destroy countries. Like the 1993 one he mentioned, exparty destroyed a whole political system into which billions of dollars has been sunk. So that is how powerful exparty order is. And I agree with him, if you are going to do any reform, you cannot backdate the reform. That's just the thing. And we just have to face the reality of trying to appeal to judges. You have to appeal. They have judges' rules. These rules are made very stringent. That exparty, usually it is the court that determines how long the exparty will say. Usually they will say it is pending the examination of the motion on notice. Some judges will say, oh, this is your exparty matter. I've read it, go and put the other party on notice before I will look at. Leave your exparty application the way, go and serve the other party, let them be aware. And I will now make an order that I give them 5 days or 3 days to come to this court and show reason why I should not make this order. And if the other party, people can be too smart, and corruptly smart too. When you know that, okay, you have just 5 days within to respond, somebody will say, don't let us do anything. The 5 days expire, there's nothing. The judge has so much powers that he can latitude to function and prevent abuse of court order. If I say go and serve the other party, and the other party, I have proof that they have been served, and they didn't bother to come. Even if they come and they are trying to delay, you can issue an order straight away and say, stop, I hereby suspend this, pending the time you will convince me. The judges, they need to be, the training should be continuous. I've read of judges, I think it was Justice Aguda, who granted ex parte order, late Justice Aguda, in a sitting room. The registrar told him of a situation where somebody was being detained illegally, unlawfully. He called the registrar, come, call the other lawyer, come, sit in my sitting room here, I am the court. And he granted the order, stopping the violation of the right of that citizen. If not for that order, the guy could have died in custody. So that was not an abuse. But what we have now, you have people trying to look at ways of maneuvering, of outsmarting the law, of using the law for their own purpose. And the court just have to be very, very careful.
Okay, so the court needs to be careful. Now, how does it work? I know that there are cases where, lawyers would refer and say, my lord, in case number, I want one thing, things like that. Now, the judgment or the order in Rivers State, is this something that could have been shared with, other courts so that they are aware and the judges in these other courts don't make conflicting judgments on them?
Thank you. That is, you have heard of forum shopping. Forum shopping means you go from one shop to another, looking for the best environment that will enable you get what you want. Looking for the best positioned courts. Forum shopping is dangerous. At times you don't go from court to court. At times it is in the same court. I've read of the case of one notorious politician. I won't mention names. He has a very, very serious case hanging on his neck. And he brought an application to prevent it from happening. It was prevented. He brought another application another time again. It was assigned to the same judge 3 times. Assigned to the same judge gave order. Three different court actions are filed at 3 different times by the same applicant, assigned to the same judge 3 times. Something tells me that something is wrong in such a system. You understand? Now, the Nigerian system does not have a situation where if a court grants an order, all the judges will be aware. And in this age of computer, in this age of internet,
it should be easy.
I think it should be easy.
Yeah.
It should be easy for any judge to conduct a search, even for judgments and orders to be uploaded immediately to the website of each judge.
Yeah.
But you see, what do we have? You have people now saying they don't want technology. Even ordinary law, they say they don't want technology. In electoral matter, they don't want technology. So that there will be loophole for them to exploit. The more technological driven our system is,
the better.
The better for us. But who are those opposing it? The politicians. Don't forget there are lawyers among the politicians.
Yes.
They are also looking at how do we build the system. No system is perfect. If those who operate in it, if they want to frustrate it, they will frustrate it. If, you know, it is.
Let me quickly go to Chief Wazurike. So there are others who have seen this as, you know, having mixed feelings about it. What the Chief Judge of Nigeria, Chief Justice of Nigeria has done, inviting the judges. Some see it as an intervention, some others see it as interference. Yes. Where do you stand?
Yes, I think the Chief Justice of Nigeria is doing what he's supposed to do. An emergency reaction to what is going on. Even though that what he is doing now cannot overturn any order already given. It is only an appellate court that can set aside that order given. Let me give you some examples. There was a senator between 2003 and 2007. His election was challenged. When the matter got to Court of Appeal, and that was the last court then, what did the judges do? They affirmed his election. But the other party was also a smart guy. He carefully monitored all that was going on around the home of the judges. And they took pictures of people carrying bags into the home of the judges. And the other party petitioned NJC. NJC sacked 2 of the 3 judges who sat there. They were dismissed. Even though they were favoring somebody who belonged to the same party as President Obasanjo then. Obasanjo had no choice but to sign the dismissal order. Justice Ebo and Nnaji, everybody remembers him during the Nnaji cases. Remember Chris Ngige, when he was governor, Justice Nnaji sitting in Enugu High Court ordered the removal of Anambra governor. Justice Ebo sitting in Federal High Court. All of them were favoring the president of the day, but it didn't stop the president from signing the order, or the governor of Enugu from signing the removal order. So the present chief judge is only trying to ameliorate a situation. In other words, he's cautioning the chief judges. Look, what is going on? What is this marketplace injunction we are now getting? Now, the chief judges are supposed to go home and put up a very good administrative system. In other words, have a meeting with their judges and say, this is what is going on. But right now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria can just take that first step. And any judge who is smart will take it as a warning. But it is only the National Judicial Council that can go and remove them. And I disagree with my little friend that is when you write a petition. No, NJC does not wait for petition. NJC has eyes everywhere. The conduct of judges is always there. It is only when the petition they are expected to come and furnish details. But if there's no petition and the conduct of judges comes to the knowledge of NJC, believe you me, they will sit. And I expect them to start sitting tomorrow, Sunday, because this marketplace mentality is absurd. It is nauseating. All of us are lawyers and want to stand up before a judge with our client by our side and know that justice will be done, not that justice will be purchased. It is very shameful. So, Chief Justice of Nigeria, do your own, but as chairman of the NJC, you can't say that NJC is not aware.
Some people fear that there's someone by the CJN could give the impression that the judges are answerable to people or to others or people who are outside or not particular in that particular case, people who are not concerned with the case. So if the Chief Justice calls the judges, it will create the impression that they're answerable to someone.
No, all judges are answerable to someone, and that someone is National Judicial Council. All judges, including the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
In the discharge of their duties.
In the discharge of their duties, their conduct. But then, let me also state this. NJC looks at misconduct. not the contents of the judgment, unless the misconduct will also show in the content. I will give you an example. When Sheriff was struggling for chairmanship of PDP, remember there was a particular judge of Federal High Court who was busy dishing out all kinds of orders that sustained Sheriff there. By the time the matters got to Court of Appeal to Supreme Court, Sheriff lost in all cases. And some people wrote petition against the High Court judge, who's from Akwa Ibom. And all they said was, show us evidence of misconduct on his part, not his reasoning. And the misconduct to the current case we are looking at is that in a sensitive matter such as election, such as meetings, you don't go on the eve of the meeting to get an ex parte order. It is wrong, unethical. You had all the time to do something. Remember, I told you the case of the ANP where the judge was dismissed. He was also saying, according to my conscience, but they pointed out to him the notice of meeting had gone out a long time ago. So why should you grant it? And I remember a personal experience I had with Justice Shegu of blessed memory, High Court of Lagos. I came for an ex parte. He just glared at me and said, my friend, can't put them on notice. I'm not granting the order. Case adjourned until you're ready. That is what you expect. Ex parte order has its own uses, such as when you want to break down a house, when you want to block a road, when you want to save lives. But then, believe you me, in political cases, every judge must be careful. You know the reason? Those who were favored, who are normally politicians, they believe they have settled you, and they move on. No politician has ever looked back to see the suffering of the judge. Those judges I mentioned, nobody looked at them. They're just languishing. But the beneficiaries of that misconduct are soaring higher and higher. So when you befriend a corrupt politician, you're only part of his corrupt system. He can never bat an eyelid to save you. That's my view.
Mr. Wifo, some would say that these things are going on because the judiciary has been politicized, and for that reason, to borrow the words that Mr. Chief Wazirike just used, bags are going in and out of houses and offices.
Well, my view is that the problems we face is not necessarily ex parte order. It's conflicting and irresponsible ex parte orders, unlawful ex parte orders, ex parte orders that are given that are clearly a violation of the law. Let me state this very clearly. Judges are not above the law. Judges' discretion are not personal discretion. They are discretion that must be given judicially, exercised judicially and judiciously. And they must be exercised in accordance with the law. So the story here is not about even ex parte orders. It's about conflicting and scandalous ex parte orders. I've talked about judicial reform. I've talked about law reform. Now, take for instance, we have a matter going on in Anambra State. That is where the governorship election is taking place. There are courts in Anambra State. You have the Federal High Court. You have the Court of Appeal there. You have the State High Court there. Why will you live there and begin and say that INEC is in Abuja, therefore you go to Abuja? Does it make any sense? It does not in any way. So if there is any lacuna in the law that allows that, it should be blocked, such that all the parties dealing with Anambra are in Anambra State, and no judge can now have the effrontery to grant an order saying he didn't know. So we need, if there are these are just simple issues, but they are not being addressed by the legislator because Nigeria is in a very dire state. Everything about the country, all the safe nets are being gradually destroyed and desecrated. The judiciary is the last line of defense. It is the last hope of the common man. It is the savior of the country. The judiciary is deliberately destroyed. Or if it is inadvertently destroyed, the country is totally finished. Everything will collapse. Therefore, we must understand that this issue Channels Television is raising this morning is not the first time it's being raised, but it is one of the most fundamental issues as we head towards the 2023 election. Because we are going to see a lot of issues arising out of this type of behavior. It is not enough for the CJN, like Chibuarike have said, to call the judges, appeal to them. Judges are not above the law, they are under the law. It is our duty as legal practitioners to protect judiciary. And I want to assure you, Channels Television today, that we have a lot of very good judges in Nigeria and across the African continent. And they are still doing their jobs conscientiously and in accordance with the law. We also have a lot of bad eggs that have been influenced by politicians. We cannot close our eyes and begin to dance around it. These are the problems. Like I said, I'm not referring to any particular thing and any particular case. But I'm saying that this is where we are going. Some of these judges are appointed through political influences. And that is what the Nigerian Bar Association are depicting and avoiding. That is what lawyers are depicting and avoiding. We must allow a standardized system. We must produce a standardized system that clearly insulates appointment, promotion, and discipline of judges are political, completely away from politics. Because
Wifo, thank you, Mr. Wifo. We need to wind down now, Mr. Wifo. So I need to ask each of you the same question, which is, so this is going on, these ex parte motions and conflicting ex parte motions are going on around the country. What is the way forward? We need to get out of this. So what is the effect? Mr. Wifo, would you please let me wind up? So what effect will the CJN's effect, what effect will it have on him calling all these judges together? Do we expect to see a difference in behavior of these judges who are carrying on the way they are? Mr. Ojo, you first. That is your last word. The way forward.
On this program, that last word is just to tell you, you have not seen anything yet. Nigeria is programmed, is designed to self-combust. It's a question of time. We have seen it. Over-centralization. Why should a federal be concerned about election in Anambra? Why can't Anambra State has its own electoral system, electoral commission, so that it is only Anambra State court that will deal with issues there? The issue is too deep. If you look at values, some people believe in cash and carry in their part of the country. Some people don't believe in due process in their part of the country. Some people don't value even human life in their part of the country. But you are grouping everybody together under the same system. That system, time is ticking for it. We see what Nigeria is becoming. So that are just the thing. My own is, last word is, you have not seen anything yet.
Chief Wazirike, the way forward.
Well, it's not my last word, just my temporary words.
We have to close this segment now. We have to shut it down.
All right, now, the crisis we have in the judiciary is present and also imminent, in the sense that if we don't arrest it now, it will get worse. But I am happy with the judgment of the Court of Appeal yesterday. The president of the Court of Appeal was very blunt in ruling. The Anambra High Court judge was actually being mischievous in the entire proceedings. We need such emphatic rulings. Supreme Court, in the case of Jim Ibrahim versus Jagede, was so angry that he removed the silk of a lawyer, and that lawyer has not been seen in public up till now. So what do we do and where do we go from here? National Judicial Council should sit in a matter of days. The Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee should also sit and bring in the hammer on them. When you bring in the hammer, others will learn. But if you treat them with kid gloves, even the inauguration of President 2023 can be stopped by ex parte order. So a stitch in nine, as they say, always saves, a stitch in time saves nine.
Okay.
In this country today, the Chief judges are also political office holders. If you don't know it now. They were confirmed by the House of Assembly. So the Chief Justice of Nigeria was also confirmed by the National Assembly. So as it is today, they must all work hand in hand to save the country. If not, we're all going to pieces. And
Okay.
that's my last
Mr. Waifo.
Yes, thank you. I have made my submission for today. The CGN's intervention is only temporarily, very welcome, but temporarily. The permanent solution is, like Ibuaruke said, very, very, very tough discipline on these judges and lawyers involved in this. And then lastly, a permanently law reform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hannibal Waifo, President, African Bar Association. We also had Chief Godi Uwazurike, a legal practitioner, as well as Mr. Olashupo Ojo. All three legal practitioners. Thank you very much for sharing your insight with us this morning.
Thanks so much.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Please join us.